Hello, I'm Chris Gay, a Connecticut writer, and I'm back with my great Aunt Jean, and we've been discussing in a previous episode, this is episode 2, in the first episode, we're talking about history, American history, our family's history, actually, going back to the early 20th century, and her father, my great-grandfather, who was born in 1895. I had said 75 in the original one, correct that. And Aunt Jean, where we left off, you were telling me about you were born in Scranton, Pennsylvania on January 26, 1925, which, as I've said to you many years, is extremely cool. That's the exact day that Paul Newman was born. And so now your father, who had come over from Lithuania to the United States, and he had settled in Scranton, and he had met your mother, my great-grandmother, and now you're living in Scranton, and they're living in Scranton, and you're born. So could you take us through that time, through the 30s?
I was born in 1925. Mm-hmm. My brother came after me a couple of years, and he was born. My father worked in the mines, and the mines were really essentially not operating. They were almost closed down. So my mother said, well, our bills are all paid. Take 2 weeks and go and look for work, which he did. And he went to Hartford, and he had a friend of a relative, and he worked with Pratt engines in the garage on Capitol Avenue. That's how they started. And then they expanded. And we also had another relative who lived in Hartford, and he worked for Coates.
And he had never been, Grandpa, he had never been to Connecticut before, is that correct?
No, he has never been to live there or stay over.
Or even visit?
No.
So your mom, my great-grandmother, was absolutely a wonderful woman. She gave Grandpa the opportunity to go find something new, and he came here, and then you all settled where we are now, our family in Connecticut, and we're in East Hartford, Connecticut now, or you are. So you've been here for quite some time.
Yes.
So you were here. You left Scranton, Pennsylvania in
1940.
And so you came to Hartford in 1940, and that was just about the time that the World War II was at its beginning. And your brother, my grandfather, could you tell us about what he did in terms of military?
Actually, when he came to the United States, my brother
Your brother, but that's okay. If you want to talk about your father, go right ahead.
I think we finished that one.
Okay.
My brother joined the Navy after he graduated from high school. And he went to, they had him go to an Eniwetok in the Pacific Ocean. And that's when Pearl Harbor came along. We all heard about it through the radio. We didn't have any other kind of menu to be able to use. And everybody was thoroughly surprised, never expecting anything like that.
So you weren't brought to the radio because you heard the news. You actually heard the news while you were listening to the radio. It's a typical Sunday afternoon prior to that in December of 1941.
That's right. And everybody listened to the radio.
That was a form of entertainment before television.
It was our means of communication.
You know, Aunt Jean, it's funny because, in this day and age, I think it would be very hard for people, a lot of people who weren't around then, to imagine just how little you had, 1 to 2 newspapers a day, right? Maybe afternoon and morning editions. Right. And then you had the radio. and maybe what newsreels in movies prior to.
They did have them in the movies, but not everybody went to movies that regularly.
Okay.
But we always had regular newspapers. Whenever they came out, we had them.
It's now we get any information that you want about anything is usually available in seconds, and then you had to really wait to find out what was going on.
Right.
And so that was in December of 41. Now you have a very interesting story about your brother that actually is very pertinent to me and pretty much the rest of my family. As some people know and others don't know, Hartford, Connecticut was the site of the United States' worst circus fire in 1944. I believe it was July 6th. And there's never before or since been a worse circus fire than that one in the United States, to my knowledge. You have a story about your brother, my grandfather. Could you tell that story?
I'd love to. He and his friend's family owned a dairy, a small dairy, and my brother and he worked the whole thing. They went out on afternoon and got the milk, and they brought it home, and they not home but to the dairy barn, and they actually prepared it for the milking, and then they prepared it for dairy for delivery.
Sure.
They went out in the early morning and delivered it, and they also came back and did all the rest of the things, like cleaning the bottles and whatever. While
the circus
Circus Fire was on, everybody knew about it. It seemed, it was like a big event.
Sure.
And it was a big event.
Well, all accounts, it was a very, very hot day in the beginning of July.
Right. Definitely. And when we heard about the fire, we thought, I'll bet he's in there. Because during the mid part of the day, they had a few hours off, so they'd go and do something. And especially at the top.
And you were at the beach?
Yes, we had a place at the beach.
In Hammonasset?
Hammonasset. It wasn't much, but Hammonasset was then. It was really crude. It was like a camp more than anything. Anyway, and I said to my mother, I bet he's there. Well, the next day we found out that he didn't go because of the fact that they ran out of gas at St. Thomas Seminary in Bloomfield, so they couldn't get back to Hartford.
So because your
because
brother...
of that, he was not in the fire. And neither was Joe Shays, whose family owned this. And they both used to work the whole thing.
So running out of gas is what actually saved him from probably perishing in that fire. And
he and his friend.
He was only 18, or in that area. So without him running out of gas, I wouldn't be here to talk to you, and neither would any of my.
Because you didn't had a gas range. You had gas stamps and all this kind of stuff, and everybody was so upset. There were so many people that were killed, that were burned and died as a result later. The hospitals and everything was all just filled with people. You could smell it. People said that lived near there.
Wow.
It was so bad. And years later, I worked on the same site that the fire occurred. They built a school there.
So it was Barber Street, I believe, right? If I was reading up on that. Obviously, I wasn't anywhere near around back in
It was in the back of backside of Mount Sinai Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Mount Sinai Hospital was on the main track, and this one was down the street below it that ran horizontal.
It's something you said there. Aside from the story itself being very interesting, is it harkens back to what you said a few minutes ago, which was you're at Hammonasset Beach with my great grandmother, with your mom, and you hear about you hear about the fire, but you didn't hear until you said tomorrow, or pardon me, the next day, what happened to your own brother. Whereas today, you would know instantly a tremendous amount more news from any number of sources, and you had to wait, even though you were in Connecticut, and Madison is where Hammonasset is, and people may not know this, Connecticut's not a very large state, so anywhere to anywhere here doesn't take very long, but Hartford is situated in sort of the center of Connecticut, and you're on the shoreline about 45, well, nowadays about maybe 45 minutes or so, or maybe longer, depending on where you're coming from, and you still had to wait a day to find out the fate of your brother, and who was saved by running out of gas. That is one of those things in life that it's just hard to fathom, and it's such a fortunate break. But listen, I really want to thank you for continuing on with this, and we'll do another episode, more history. And this is my great aunt Jean, and she was very, very kind to share your thoughts with us. And you and I have spoken about history for many years since I was growing up, because we both share an interest in this. And I've heard some of these stories before, and I'm very glad that you would like to share them with other people. And so I really thank you, Aunt Jean, for telling your words today, your stories.
Well, I'm glad you gave me the opportunity to do it.
It's absolutely my pleasure. Thank you very much. And this is the end of episode 2, and we may do episode 3 in the future.
Fine.
So thank you very much, Aunt Jean, and to everybody, have a great day.
You're welcome.